We've all seen AI generate incredible images, write compelling text, even, clone realistic voices. But here's where it gets really interesting. What happens when AI doesn't just generate content, but actually embodies it?
Yeah, what's fascinating here is that leap from just creating pieces of content to creating a whole talking, moving character, a digital double, you could say, that looks and sounds incredibly like a real person.
Right.
We're talking about AI avatars that are, well, truly starting to escape that infamous uncanny valley where something looks almost human but just feels a bit off.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we're digging into an article from Andreessen Horowitz that really took a deep look under the hood. They actually put over 20 different AI avatar products to the test.
Oh, wow.
Okay, trying to figure out what's working now, what's coming next, and, the tech pushing the boundaries.
So it's a real hands-on report, getting beyond the hype to what these things can actually do now. Sounds like they analyzed, over 70 research papers, too?
Yeah.
And looked at the real tools?
That's right. So our mission today is to really unpack this rapid evolution for you. We want to explore how the research itself has progressed.
A timeline, yeah.
Look at that development timeline, see where this tech is actually being used in the real world right now, break down the key things that make a believable avatar work, and then maybe peek into the future. Where's it all heading?
Sort of a full analysis of the AI digital human space then, from the foundations right up to the cutting edge. It's quite a journey, isn't it? From those early static images with synthesized voices to, well, potentially dynamic characters that can interact with us.
Right. And you might think, okay, easy, just generate a face, make the mouth move, add a voice.
Yeah.
But the article makes it really clear. It's orders of magnitude more complex than just basic lip sync.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how do you make the entire face and body look natural? It's not just the mouth moving, right? Your cheeks, your chin, your eyes, they all subtly react when you speak, especially with emotion.
Yeah, if the voice sounds happy, but the face is totally blank.
The illusion just shatters instantly. And everyone has their own, unique rhythm and style of speaking, the way their face moves with certain sounds, their posture, maybe little gestures they make.
You can't just slap one generic lip sync pattern onto someone else's face. It just looks weirdly detached.
Precisely. So the core technical hurdle they highlighted in the research is getting that realistic phone-to-visum mapping right.
Okay, explain that a bit. Phone to visum.
So phonemes are the basic sounds of speech, like F or M. Visums are the corresponding visual shapes your mouth and face make for those sounds. Getting that link accurate is step one.
But like you said, it's not just the mouth.
No, it's compounded by needing the entire face and eventually the whole body to move together naturally, reflecting individual styles and expressions. It's a huge challenge.
Okay, so let's unpack the evolution then. How have researchers tried to crack this over time? The article apparently maps out a pretty interesting progression in the research papers, starting around 2017.
Yeah, and if you look at it, you see this clear pattern of adopting powerful new AI techniques as they emerged in the broader field. The research really began with, let's say, foundational methods, algorithms designed for recognizing patterns and images and generating new ones.
Like what sort of models were they using initially?
They started with architectures like CNNs, convolutional neural networks, great for visual data, and GANs, generative adversarial networks.
Yeah.
The ones with two networks competing to make realistic data. Those were the early building blocks.
Okay, and then presumably the focus shifted to capturing the 3D aspect. The face isn't flat, after all.
Exactly. So 3D-based approaches became really crucial for adding that depth and realistic perspective. Techniques like NeurIP's neural radiance fields came along, helping render 3D scenes from 2D images, and also 3D morphable models, 3DMM, which let researchers build and manipulate 3D face models. These added a vital layer of realism by understanding the geometry.
And now, more recently, we're seeing the big guns from other AI fields moving in, like the models behind ChatGPT or Midjourney.
Precisely. The latest research wave uses transformers, the architecture driving large language models, and diffusion models, which are, state-of-the-art right now for image and video generation. A key recent development, the article noted, is diffusion transformers, or DIT, kind of combining elements of both.
Wow.
It's this rapid adoption of the latest breakthroughs that's really driving the current jump in quality we're seeing.
So you can really track this timeline of research, building on itself, trying different technical angles. How did that translate into what the AI avatars could actually do? What were the early ones like compared to now?
Well, early approaches were pretty limited, honestly. The article describes starting with maybe just one photo, masking part of the face, and generating mouth movements from audio.
Right.
They were trained on relatively small data sets, often focusing only on a tightly cropped face.
Yeah.
You might remember those early examples like the lip-syncing Obama videos.
Yeah, those needed tons of video of him specifically, right?
Exactly. Many hours of specific footage to get even a half-decent result, and the outputs were very constrained. Often just the lower part of the face moving slightly. You couldn't just make anyone talk easily or show them in a proper scene.
Okay, so what's changed? How have today's models blown past that?
Well, powered by these newer architectures and much, much larger data sets, they're just far more flexible and powerful. Now, they can generate not just a talking head, but half-body or even full-body movement.
Seriously, full body.
Yeah, they can create realistic talking faces integrated into dynamic scenes, sometimes even with motion happening in the background, all within the same generated video.
That's a massive leap. How are they managing that full dynamic scene generation? Is it like text to video?
The article suggests it's quite similar. These newer models are trained much like sophisticated text-to-video models, using huge amounts of diverse video data. They use various techniques to make sure the core realistic talking face stays accurate and synchronized, even while the body moves and the background is alive.
And we're actually seeing products emerge now based on this research.
Definitely. ByteDance's OmniHuman 1, which they showed off in February and is now in their Dramina tool, was one of the first big examples of this full scene capability.
Right.
But things move so fast. Hadra released their Character 3 model in March, and the article's testing found it might actually be best in class for many uses right now.
Oh, really? What makes it stand out?
Apparently, it's particularly good at generating non-human characters. They mentioned like a talking Waymo car example, and it lets users guide the character's emotions and movement just using text prompts.
A talking Waymo car.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Shows the versatility, I guess.
It really does. It's moving way beyond just photorealistic human faces.
Yeah.
And this ability is unlocking totally new uses like AI animation, partly driven by trends like the Studio Ghibli aesthetic people are trying to replicate.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, the article mentioned a really compelling example video made with Hadra that started with just a single image and some audio. The AI generated everything, the character's movement, lip sync, even subtle motion in background characters purely from that input.
That's incredible. Which makes you wonder, okay, where are these increasingly realistic AI avatars actually being used right now?
Well, the article says there are potentially countless use cases across individuals, small businesses, big enterprises. Basically, anywhere you interact with a character or watch someone speak in a video is a potential spot for an AI avatar.
Okay, let's break that down. Start with individuals, consumers. How are everyday people using this?
This is where it's a massive unlock for creativity, particularly storytelling. Imagine wanting to make an animated short, right? But you don't have animation skills or actors.
Yeah, that's a huge barrier.
Exactly. Now, pretty much anyone can create an animated character from just a single image in a script or an audio file. Early AI videos often felt a bit flat, maybe?
Yeah.
Because it was just voiceovers on images. Now you can bring a character to life who acts out your story. It makes it way more engaging.
So people are making actual content with this. Like what?
Oh, yeah? All sorts. AI streamers, AI podcasters, characters for music videos, narrative videos, tools like Hedra, as we said, let you create these dynamic characters from an image plus audio or a script.
What if you already have a video, say, of yourself talking, but you want to use different audio?
And
Yeah.
the tools like Sync can handle that. They specialize in applying really realistic lip sync to make the character in your existing video perfectly match a new audio track.
Okay. And what about controlling a character with your own movements?
Yeah, that's possible too. Tools like Runway Act 1 and Viggle let you do that. They capture your physical performance and apply it to a digital character.
That's really opening up the creative toolkit. The article even mentioned a creator they liked, NeuralViz, and their series, The Monoverse.
Yeah, that series is a great example of the potential for entirely AI-generated shows or even standalone virtual influencers. The barrier to creating them is just so much lower now.
And looking ahead for consumers.
Well, as avatars get easier to generate and stream in real time, the article expects them to become integrated right into user interfaces.
Like having a character inside an app.
Exactly. Imagine learning a language with an AI coach that's not just text, but a full character you interact with face-to-face in a video call. They mentioned the Practica app as an example, doing something like this. It just makes digital interactions feel much more personal.
Okay, so that's consumers getting creative. What about small and medium businesses? SMBs, how are they using avatars?
For SMBs, the article flags advertising specifically for lead generation as a killer use case. This seems to be where the biggest immediate business impact is.
Ah, so instead of hiring actors, production crews, all that expense for video ads.
You can use these hyper-realistic AI characters.
Mm.
And there are tools specifically for this now, like Creatify and Arcads. They automate a lot of it. You might just give them a product link, and boom, they generate a whole ad video. Script, assets, even casting an AI actor.
Wow, that completely changes the economics of video advertising, doesn't it? Especially for smaller players.
Yep. Absolutely. It unlocks effective video ads for companies that just couldn't afford traditional production before. Think e-commerce stores, indie game devs, app developers. You've probably already scrolled past AI-generated ads on YouTube or TikTok and maybe didn't even realize it wasn't a real person.
Yeah, probably.
And it's not just consumer ads. The article mentions B2B companies are exploring this too for things like content marketing, maybe personalized video outreach, using tools from places like Yuzu Labs and Vidyard.
So even business-to-business communication is being touched by this. What about the big players, large enterprises?
Enterprises are finding ways to use avatars to scale their content creation in a few key areas. Learning and development is a big one.
Training videos, right?
Exactly. Companies have tons of training material, onboarding, compliance, product tutorials, skill stuff. Tools like Synthesia automate creating and updating these videos using AI avatars. It's just way faster and more scalable than filming everything traditionally.
And is it just watching videos, or can you interact?
That's another application they pointed to. Products like Anim are emerging, where, say, a salesperson could practice negotiation techniques by role-playing with an AI avatar that actually gives feedback.
Interactive training with digital people. That's pretty wild. What else?
Localization is huge. Global companies need to adapt videos for different languages, different cultures, combine AI actors with good AI voice translation, like from 11 Labs. They're mentioned a lot.
Yeah, they're well known for voices.
And you can personalize videos super fast. Training, marketing, executive messages, pump them out in dozens of languages with natural voices and matching lip sync.
So you shoot it once, and AI clones the speaker in multiple languages.
Basically, yeah. Slashes the time and cost. And finally, they highlighted executive presence.
Meaning?
Letting executives scale their communication. Instead of filming the same announcement or thank you message over and over, they generate realistic AI twins to send personalized versions to different groups.
The CEO sending an AI personalized message to every employee.
Potentially, yes. Or, even going further, companies like Delphi and Cicero are creating interactive AI clones of thought leaders or busy execs. People can then ask the clone questions the real person wouldn't have time for. It scales access to their expertise.
That's really something. Scaling personal interaction with digital doubles.
Okay.
So we've seen the evolution, the use cases. Let's get into the how.
Okay.
What are the essential ingredients for making one of these believable AI avatars?
The article breaks it down into several key components, each with its own challenges. First up, obviously, the face.
Needs to look consistent, move realistically.
Right. Consistency frame to frame is vital, no weird glitching, but the movement needs to be more than just the mouth. Realistic facial expressions matching the emotion, the nuances of speech, that's crucial. And they noted that context-aware stuff like, yawning when saying I'm tired is still really hard.
And a voice.
Equally critical. Has to sound real, natural, and fit the character. A mismatch is instantly jarring. As mentioned, lots of avatar tools rely on specialists like 11 Labs for high-quality voices and cloning.
Then the lip sync. You said earlier it's tricky.
Definitely. Getting it perfect, synchronized, natural-looking across different speaking styles, it's so hard that whole companies, like Sync, just focus on that one problem. Other models, like Meta's Mocha or ByteDance's OmniHuman, use huge data sets and complex techniques to really tie the face movements to the audio.
Okay, face, voice, lip sync. What about the rest of the person?
Yeah, I can't just have a floating head usually. The latest models are finally starting to include half-body or even full-body movement. But the article emphasizes this is still pretty early days compared to faces, especially getting it working well at scale.
And they exist in a space.
Right.
The background.
Right. For realism, the lighting on the avatar, the depth relative to the background, it all needs to match seamlessly. A big future goal they mentioned is interaction, having the avatar actually hold a product in an ad, for example. Top View was noted as making progress there.
So those are the pieces for generating an avatar, maybe for a pre-rendered video. What about real time? Like a conversational avatar for a video call?
Yeah, that adds several more critical layers and big technical hurdles. First, you need a brain.
It needs to think on the fly.
Exactly. For a natural conversation, the avatar needs to connect to sophisticated AI models its brain to understand questions, access knowledge, and respond intelligently, coherently, all in real time. And the future goal is adding things like memory, personality, maybe emotional flair.
And doing all that instantly. Latency must be a nightmare.
It is. Streaming all those components, the video, the audio, the AI responses, with minimal delay is incredibly tough, but absolutely essential for it to feel like a real conversation. Companies like LiveKit and Agora are working on the streaming tech itself. They mentioned examples like Tolan, an AI alien companion from Genies, showing progress.
That AI alien.
Yeah, showing progress on low latency interaction, but also indicating that, consistent human level speed and reliability is still very much an active development area.
Okay, so given all these moving parts, the rapid progress, but also the challenges, where are the biggest gaps right now? What needs the most improvement, according to the article?
They highlighted several key areas needing significant work. First, character consistency and transformation. Historically, avatars had one fixed look. While some, like Heijin, are showing progress with variations like their 20 looks Pharrell example,
Right.
people want way more flexibility, easily change appearance, outfits, poses without losing quality.
And making the faces less robotic, more
Well,
genuinely expressive.
definitely. Better facial movement, nuanced expressiveness, critical. Caption's new Mirage tech was mentioned as showing promise for more natural looks. A key goal is getting avatars to understand the emotional context of the script, not just the words, and react appropriately, look confused, scared, excited.
And movement below the neck, still limited.
Yeah, right now, even basic things like natural hand gestures while talking are often still a bit stiff or need to be explicitly programmed. You might select a thinking pose with a tool like Argyle. The desire is for more natural, inferred body motion that feels organic, not preset.
And interaction with the environment, picking things up.
Exactly. Current avatars are mostly just layered onto a scene. They can't really interact convincingly, pick up a product, lean on a table. The article sees this as challenging, but maybe a near-term goal, noting again companies like TopView working on having avatars hold items in ads.
And finally, just getting those real-time applications working reliably at scale.
Yes. The desire is for much more common real-time use video calls with an AI doctor, a sales assistant, tech support, maybe even FaceTiming a fictional character. Latency and coherence are improving thanks to platforms like LiveKit and Agora, but getting it truly indistinguishable from human interaction in real time, still a frontier.
So putting it all together, the research path, the uses, the components, the gaps, where does the article see this heading in the near future?
Well, predicting AI is always tricky, right? But they seem confident the application layer, the actual businesses and tools using this tech, is set for really rapid growth because the underlying model quality for believable talking heads and increasingly bodies is finally good enough that the output isn't, well, painful or uncanny for many uses.
Which means the barrier to creating things with digital humans is dropping fast.
Precisely. The authors think we'll see multiple billion-dollar companies emerge focused just on AI avatar products and services. They also predict the market will likely segment quite a bit,
How so?
based on the use case and, crucially, the customer's quality needs. An enterprise wanting a perfect, indistinguishable clone of their CEO for an official message will demand and pay for much higher realism and security than, say, someone making a quick, maybe stylized character for a fan video.
And the tools themselves will need to be different depending on the job.
Exactly. Building a platform for quick ads needs a totally different workflow than, say, a complex storytelling tool for managing characters and scenes in longer videos. Successful companies, they argue, will need workflows perfectly tailored to what the customer is trying to do with the avatar.
Wow. This deep dive into the A16's article has really mapped out an incredible journey for AI avatars, from those early lip sync tests to these capable, dynamic digital characters popping up everywhere. Creativity, business, enterprise communication. We've touched on the tech hurdles, the timeline, the key ingredients, and what still needs work.
It's clear it's moving beyond just generating content. It's really about creating presence, enabling new kinds of interaction.
And here's where it gets really interesting, maybe a final thought for you listening.
Right.
As these AI avatars become more and more sophisticated, potentially indistinguishable from reality, changing how we see characters, interact with screens, maybe even how we experience presence, what does that mean for you? What new forms of communication or creativity or connection might this tech unlock or, well, change in your own life or work?
It's definitely something to think about as these digital doubles become, a more common feature of our world.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.